All right, so today we're diving into something that a lot of people have opinions about,
Oh, yeah.
life insurance.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
we're looking at this book that's kind of turning things on their head.
hmm
That whole, like, life insurance is a bad investment idea.
Yeah, and it's not just the author's not just some random person spouting this off. This is someone who actually trains life insurance professionals.
Oh, wow.
And what's really fascinating is he's saying even some of these really seasoned pros in the field haven't fully grasped the potential of life insurance. Like he even tells this anecdote about an 11-year veteran having this like light bulb moment during one of his training
Oh,
sessions.
wow. So someone who's been doing it for over a decade and still.
Exactly.
Yeah. So right off the bat, the book says that life insurance isn't a typical investment. What's the author getting at there?
Well, I think he's really trying to make a clear distinction, right, between the death benefit, which is, of course, the primary function of life insurance, and then traditional investment growth.
Hmm.
He uses this really interesting analogy of different fish in the same ocean. They both exist in the financial world, both life insurance and investments, but they serve very different purposes.
Okay, that makes sense. But then why do so many people immediately think of life insurance as a bad investment?
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from?
Well, the author actually highlights two main reasons.
Okay.
The first being that a lot of people, they just sort of parrot what they've heard without actually doing any research themselves.
Oh, yeah, just repeating what they've heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he mentions it's almost comical because when he asks people, well, why do you think it's a bad investment? They often just go silent. Like they've never actually stopped to question it.
Yeah, I think we've all been guilty of that at some point,
Yeah, absolutely.
just accepting something as fact. What's the second reason?
The second one he points to is the media,
Okay.
and particularly entertainment-focused media.
Okay.
They often present a very simplified view of life insurance,
Right.
which, maybe that's understandable, right? They don't have the time or maybe even the expertise to get into a truly nuanced take.
Right, yeah.
But, it can be really misleading for the average viewer.
So are you saying that just because someone's on TV talking about finances doesn't necessarily mean they're giving you the full picture?
Exactly. And, this author, he's working with life insurance professionals all the time. And even they are sometimes surprised by what he calls the living advantages of these policies.
Wait, hold on. Living advantages. What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. So these are benefits that you can access while the policy is active,
Okay.
not just upon death.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So think of it this way. Most people associate life insurance with the death benefit, which is, of course, crucial. But there's this whole other layer of potential benefits that often gets overlooked.
Okay, so not just about leaving money behind, but also potentially benefiting from the policy while you're still alive.
Precisely. And that's where that story about the experienced professional having that aha moment really comes in. It just illustrates how even those in the industry can have these blind spots.
Okay, you keep mentioning that story, and now I'm really curious. Like, tell me more about that.
Sure.
What was this professional's epiphany?
So picture this. The author, he's describing role-playing a client interaction with this veteran in the field, someone with over a decade of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's outlining these living advantages, the professional goes completely silent, like totally stunned.
So she had no idea.
Nope. And what's even more powerful is her reaction. She admits to feeling ashamed for not realizing this sooner.
Wow, that is powerful.
Can you imagine that? Someone with years of experience suddenly realizing they've been missing this crucial piece of the puzzle?
Yeah. If someone who's been doing it for that long is just finding this out now, what does that say about, the average person's understanding?
Yeah, that's exactly what the author is getting at. He argues that if those working in the field are unaware of these benefits, the general public, who rely on, often simplified media portrayals, are likely even further behind.
And it seems like he has some strong opinions about the media's role in all this.
He does. He points out that media personalities are, at the end of the day, entertainers.
Okay.
Even when talking about finances, their goal is to keep people engaged, not necessarily to provide in-depth financial education.
So are you saying that their knowledge might be broad, but it's also shallow?
Yeah, and that's his concern. However, he does clarify that he believes most media personalities, they have good intentions. They just simply might not have the deep understanding needed to accurately portray all the complexities of life insurance.
So it's not about pointing fingers, but rather highlighting the importance of looking beyond that surface level.
Exactly. And that leads us to his challenge to readers. Don't take my word for it. Let the numbers speak for themselves. He really wants people to investigate for themselves, to go beyond those common misconceptions and really see what life insurance can offer.
It's interesting. It sounds like this book is really challenging the traditional way we think about life insurance.
Absolutely. It's about questioning those assumptions and considering different perspectives. And this ties back to his point about life insurance companies being very cautious about the word investment. Because part of your premium payment, it goes towards the product itself. It's not just about future savings.
Okay, so it's not like putting money in a savings account where every dollar is contributing to your balance.
Exactly. Yeah, it goes back to his analogy of, different fish in the same ocean. And this is where things get interesting.
Because he actually acknowledges that, dollar for dollar, a traditional investment might look better on paper
Right.
than a life insurance policy.
Yeah.
Is that because part of what you're paying is actually going towards the death benefit?
Yeah, you got it. But here's the thing. He argues that it's not really an apples-to-apples comparison
Okay.
when you're comparing these two financial tools.
Right.
Like he's saying, there's more to the story than just looking at the raw numbers, right?
Right. And he keeps bringing up those living advantages that we talked about before.
Yes.
How do this kind of factor into the equation?
Well, those living advantages, they can really be a game changer when you use them strategically. Remember, it's about more than just that death benefit. There's that whole other layer of potential benefits that we need to consider.
So maybe we need to kind of shift our thinking about life insurance. It's not just about what you leave behind, but it's potentially about how you actually utilize the policy while you're still alive.
That's a key takeaway here. And if even seasoned professionals are overlooking this, imagine how much opportunity the average person might be missing out on.
It makes me think about all the times I've heard people just completely dismiss life insurance as a bad investment. But what if it's not the product itself? What if it's just a lack of understanding about how it can be used?
That's a powerful insight, really. And it begs the question, right? What if this whole bad investment idea is more about just not being aware than an actual problem with the product itself? Like, what are we overlooking just because we've accepted this common misconception?
It's like we've been conditioned to think about life insurance in one very specific way without considering all of its potential.
Exactly. And that's why his challenge to let the numbers speak for themselves is so important. We need to dig a little deeper, look beyond those surface level assumptions.
I'm starting to see life insurance in a whole new light. It's like there's this hidden world of possibilities that most people don't even realize is there.
And that's the beauty of challenging those assumptions. It opens us up to new perspectives, new opportunities, and ultimately that's what this whole deep dive is about.
It's almost like we're programmed to dismiss it before we even understand it.
Yeah.
But what about those living advantages you mentioned? Can you give me a concrete example of how those might actually work?
Sure. One example is using a life insurance policy as a way to save money with tax advantages.
Okay.
Some policies, they allow you to build cash value over time, and that growth, it can be tax deferred, meaning you don't pay taxes on it until you actually withdraw the funds.
Oh, so it's like a built-in savings vehicle with potential tax benefits.
Exactly. And another example is actually borrowing against the policy.
Okay.
So if you need access to funds, you can actually borrow against your policy's cash value. And often, this is at lower interest rates than you would find with a traditional loan.
That's interesting. I never really thought about using life insurance like that. It's almost like having a line of credit tied to your policy.
That's a great way to put it. And these are just two examples. There are lots of other potential living advantages. It really depends on the specific policy and your individual needs.
This really challenges the whole idea that life insurance is only valuable upon death. It sounds like it could actually be a really powerful tool for financial planning throughout your life.
That's a key point that the author emphasizes. He's advocating for a more holistic view of life insurance, one that goes beyond just the death benefit and considers its potential to actually support your financial goals while you're alive.
It's amazing how much we might be missing out on just because of these common misconceptions.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking back to that story about the experienced professional having that aha moment. It really underscores the human element here.
It does. Think about the emotional impact of that experience. To feel shame for not realizing the full potential of something you've dedicated your career to. It highlights the importance of continuous learning and challenging our own assumptions, even when we think you're experts.
It makes you wonder how many people are out there making financial decisions based on incomplete information, not even realizing what they don't know.
It's a sobering thought, and it ties back to the author's point about the media's role in shaping public
All
perception.
right.
While he acknowledges that most media personalities, they have good intentions, he raises concerns about the potential for oversimplification and unintentional misinformation.
But don't you think there are reputable financial journalists out there
Yeah.
providing valuable insights? Like, how does the author account for them?
He does acknowledge that. But he argues that even the most well-intentioned media coverage, it can fall short when it comes to the nuances of these complex financial products like life insurance.
Hmm.
He suggests that the fast-paced nature of media, it often prioritizes entertainment value over in-depth analysis.
It's not just about the information itself, but how it's presented and the context surrounding it. We as consumers really have to be careful about where we're getting our information.
Absolutely, and that's why the author's challenge to let the numbers speak for themselves, it's so important. He's encouraging readers to go beyond the headlines, to really dig into the details and understand how life insurance works before making any judgments.
It's almost like he's giving us permission to be skeptical, to question the conventional wisdom and form our own conclusions.
Exactly. He's advocating for an informed and empowered approach to financial decision-making, one that's based on facts and a thorough understanding of the options.
It's clear that this book goes beyond just the nuts and bolts of life insurance. It really digs into the psychology of financial decision-making and the influence of these external factors, like the media and societal norms.
It's a fascinating look at how our perceptions can shape our financial choices. And it reminds us that we all have a responsibility to educate ourselves and really seek out those reliable sources of information.
It really does. I feel like this whole deep dive has been, like, eye-opening.
Yeah.
Taking something we thought we knew, turning it completely on its head.
It is. It's the power of a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
And especially when we're talking about something as important as our finances, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to be open to those new possibilities, to challenging those old assumptions.
I think what's really sticking with me is that story about the 11-year veteran
Oh, yeah.
and, like, the shame that she felt for not realizing the full potential of something she had, built her career around.
It's a powerful reminder that, even when we think we've got it all figured out, we can always learn more.
Always more to learn.
Yeah.
And it just makes you think, how many other people out there are making these big financial decisions based on stuff they don't even know they don't know?
And that's the danger of just accepting what we've always heard. We get caught in this trap of thinking, oh, everybody knows that.
Right.
But as we've seen today, everybody could be wrong.
So for our listeners today, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from this deep dive?
I think just be curious, Be willing to question that so-called common knowledge. Don't just take what you've heard about life insurance, or frankly, any other financial product,
Yeah.
at face value. Do a little digging, ask some questions, let the facts guide those big decisions.
Don't be afraid to be that person who asks why.
Exactly. Embrace that inner skeptic. That's how we protect ourselves from misinformation and make the best choices, right? The choices that really work for our goals.
So to wrap things up here, maybe life insurance is more than we think it is.
Yeah.
What we often hear as a bad investment could actually open up a whole world of possibilities.
It's true. And unlocking those possibilities, well, that comes down to knowledge. So
Yeah.
arm yourself with information, challenge those assumptions, and who knows, you might be surprised what you've been missing all along.
That's a great point to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.